Crystal Palace 3, Arsenal 0. Even saying that out loud, I still can't believe it. It was awful. Anyway, let's get into it and do the 5 at 5. Number 1, and let's just start with probably one of the worst things about yesterday, and that was Nuno Tavares' performance. That unfortunately got hooked at half time. We've seen that happen to him before when he started away from home. He doesn't quite seem to be at the level required. And yesterday, for the first goal and the second goal, I felt like it wasn't all his fault, but I felt like he was caught short and could have done better, should have done better on both of those goals. For the first one, he never really seemed to get off the ground. He never really seemed to gauge the flight of the ball and understand that he needed to get up there and challenge Anderson at that back post. Anderson, kind of had his arm in his back a little bit. That's how you win headers in the Premier League. You have to be a bit physical and you have to work on that fine line between winning that header, creating a chance for your team and potentially giving away a foul. I do feel like on another day, a soft foul could have been given there with that arm in the back, but Tavares just was not strong enough. If you're expecting the ball, expecting to get into a challenge with a tall centre-back, then you position your body accordingly, you get up nice and early, but he just didn't seem to be expecting that sort of physicality in that moment, and it cost us. Obviously, that ball went across and Mateta scored the goal. For the second goal, Gabriel, I do think, is at fault for the goal overall because he made a call to try and intercept the ball and got it wrong. So that's it. That's what led to that space opening up behind him. If Gabriel didn't do that, even with Tavares being on his heels, being slightly unaware, we probably wouldn't have conceded from there. But after you see, as a left back, when you see your left-sided centre-back go for a ball where you're not sure if he's going to get it, you have to switch on. You cannot be on your heels. I'm not saying that he should have already been in Gabriel's position. It happened very quickly. But ultimately, I would have expected him to have been following the striker into that dangerous area. But instead, he was kind of left nowhere to be seen. When you look at Ayew and the amount of time that he had to finish, that really brings into question how switched on Tavares was in that moment. It was a difficult game for him, very difficult game for him, but we just need to carry on supporting the kid. He hasn't had a lot of experience in English football, and hopefully the only way is up for him. Number 2, and that is the title running. Listen, this is just going to be the talking point for Arsenal's next 9 games, all the way until the end of the season. For Tottenham's next 8 games, it's going to be that run-in, Arsenal versus Tottenham. And I guess the question now is that with the North London derby being rearranged, and we know when that is now, you look at the fixture list and Arsenal have got Leeds at home. It's 4 days before the North London derby, and then we've got Newcastle away 4 days after the North London derby. When you compare that to Tottenham, they've got Liverpool away 5 days before the North London derby, and then Burnley at home 3 days after. I have to admit, even when you look at Tottenham, it's not actually 3 days, it's 2.5. And with Arsenal, the game before with Leeds, it's 4.5 days that we get due to the timings of the game. That works for us in terms of the actual North London derby, but it's unarguable that Tottenham have got a much easier run-in. Their last 2 games are Burnley and Norwich. So, overall, they've got a much easier run-in. The only difficult game they've got is Liverpool away. We are going to be in for a fight now, an absolute fight to get that 4th spot with Tottenham. We really, really let ourselves down yesterday. But I want you guys to tell me, who's in a better position? Obviously, Arsenal are level on points, but we've got the game in hand, albeit you can say that game in hand is Chelsea away. And, do you believe we're going to get a result there? Who do you think's in a better position? And I'm sure all of you think Arsenal are going to do the business and clinch that top 4 spot over Tottenham. But tell me in the comments below, whose position would you rather be in? And do you think it all comes down to that North London derby? Is that effectively a knockout for that Champions League spot? Number 3, and something that a lot of people haven't really picked up on, the weekend was disastrous for us in terms of goal difference. When people plot out the remaining games that Arsenal have got and the remaining games that Tottenham have got, the points tally at the end of all of that is very, very close. And can you imagine if it came down to goal difference? Prior to this weekend of football, Arsenal were on 13 goal difference and Spurs were on 11 goal difference. As a result of what happened this weekend, it's been a swing of 7. Now Tottenham are on 15 and we're on 10. So all of a sudden we're significantly behind them on goal difference. Then again, you look at that and you say, look, if we go and perform properly in the North London derby, go and win that game 2-0, for example, then that takes away 4 out of that 5 differential on goal difference. That for me is a must-win game now, but we need to make sure that we build our goal difference back up, because I cannot even imagine how painful it would be to lose out on Champions League football to Tottenham purely based on goal difference. And if that does happen, if that horrible scenario does happen, this would be the weekend that caused it. Number 4, and that is going to be about the Arsenal away fans. As far as I'm concerned, Arsenal away fans are just the best in the country. We are we're a good bunch, man. We support our team. And you know, at home, yeah, it's not loud enough, and sometimes the atmosphere can get a bit tetchy when things aren't going our way. But Arsenal away fans are absolutely brilliant. Bear in mind, look, you know, this is South London, Monday night, people have got work the next day, all of that sort of stuff, and injury time, 3-0 down. It's not hordes of people leaving the stadium. Obviously, some people do that, but the vast majority not only were there in the ground, they were singing for Arsenal, singing for Mikel Arteta, singing for the players. And that's when we're 3-0 down in a really, really important game. And it's not that we played well either. Rubbish performance, rubbish result, rubbish consequences in terms of the league table and our top 4 aspirations. And even then, the fans are there singing, chanting, shouting, standing up, showing the team that actually, do you know what, we're with you. And I loved that from the Arsenal fans. I really rated that. Now, 2 things have come out of that. I shared this video that I took on my Twitter and on my Instagram. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out on my socials, right? But 2 things came out of that. One is kind of a bit of a fringe thing that's come out of it, and that is some people are questioning. They're sort of like suggesting that I'm lying about the fact that that was at the end of the game, and they're talking about it being at the start of the game. Listen, the fact of the matter is, if you cannot believe that Arsenal fans were reacting like that so positively, that you think the only logical outcome is that I'm lying, and actually that's what Arsenal were doing before the game when we were expecting, you know, a better result. It just goes to show just how much of a statement of togetherness and support that is from the Arsenal faithful. So it's a backhanded compliment. You can go and do your research. Arsenal talk, we know what they do when it comes to transfers. They can go and look at the cloud patterns of the sky and all that sort of stuff to establish whether it was before the game or in injury time. But I'm sure you all know it was. And also, the other thing that's come out of is that a lot of people, and I want to talk about this because a lot of people have said it's a reflection on the standards of Arsenal fans. The fact that we sort of accept defeat or don't mind, sort of happy with defeat. That's an absolute nonsense. Arsenal fans yesterday applied some context to that defeat. It was rubbish. That game was awful. The performance, everything about it, absolutely rubbish. We left that ground despondent. But what we didn't forget was that in the last 7 games prior to this, we'd won 6. At the start of that 7-game spell, we weren't talking about top 4 as an expectation. We were talking about top 4 as a pipe dream. People didn't believe in that. And we've worked ourselves into a position where this Crystal Palace game was really, really gutting for us because of the fact that actually now we expect to go and get top 4. So when we went and supported our players and sung our hearts out for them when we're 3-0 down in injury time, the reason we did that is because we know it's still in our hands. The players have done well, they've played well in recent weeks, and we're not going to turn on them just as because of a one-off bad performance. Clearly, if we go and do the same thing against Brighton and then follow that up again, yeah, it will change. But right now, this is what the players and the manager deserve. They deserve that togetherness. They deserve us to kind of say, fine, bad day at the office, go and prove it in your next game. And crucially, this won't be tolerated against Tottenham away. Go and prove it against Tottenham away. If you've lost this game, but you go and beat Tottenham away, then we can wipe the slate clean. But we are with you and we're going to give you the chance to make amends. That was the message from the Arsenal fans, and I absolutely loved it. And in fact, when it comes to the Arsenal man of the match, it was the fans yesterday because we were absolutely brilliant. Number 5, and that is our central midfield. And look, I've already spoken about Tavares, I spoke about Gabriel, who didn't cover himself in glory for the second goal. For the first goal, I think it was Ben White that gave the foul away that led to the first goal. Look, there were problems all over the pitch, but two of our most experienced players, senior players in that central midfield role, Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka, well, they got ripped apart. Conor Gallagher played brilliantly, and I'm not here for that conversation about, oh, it's unfair that he doesn't play against Chelsea. Please spare me that. These are the rules. They've been the rules for a long time. Arsenal have benefited, and, you know, if we won, we wouldn't be talking about that anyway. The fact of the matter is, Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey both should have done better. Neither of them made themselves the sort of anchor in midfield that we needed, and the reality is, both of them ended up in yellow cards. Thomas Partey ended up injured. Granit Xhaka ended up left back. It was just awful for both of them. Now, what I want to ask you is, look, I was having a conversation with someone in the stadium during the game, and they were kind of saying, look, Thomas Partey hasn't been good enough, and they just simply didn't rate him. I personally think since he came out and did that interview where he said he'd rate his performance at Arsenal as a 4 out of 10, since then, he's been good. And overall, I think now we've seen what he's about and the quality that he has. This, I just hope, was a one-off bad game from him, but I've been happy with his level in sort of recent weeks. Granit Xhaka, on the other hand, I feel like, you know, we know what he's about, and I don't think that on average his time at Arsenal has been a positive one. There have been really, really awful moments, and he hasn't done that for a long time, which is great, but also there's been too many of these performances where you think to yourself, you're not the mobile, agile, physical player. And whilst I was surprised by Partey's performance, in all honesty, I wasn't very surprised that Granit Xhaka didn't assert his authority. So one question I want to ask you, and I know this is a pure hypothetical and unrealistic, but when people say we're going to miss Granit Xhaka when he goes, I would say, well, who would you rather have? Granit Xhaka, or let's say a Declan Rice, a Jude Bellingham, or a Paul Pogba? And I know they're all very, very expensive players, but if we get Champions League football, either we beat the market and sign an unknown, and we'll see how that goes, or we go big money and try and sign someone like this sort of caliber player. Out of those three, though, I want to know, who would you love to see in an Arsenal shirt if one of these three was ever realistic? Rice, Bellingham, or Pogba? Put it in the comments below. And until next time, see you later. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and up the Arsenal.